So I want to show you a quick video on a cheating way of basting your shapes for English paper piecing. And here I'm doing hexagons, but you can pretty much do any shape you like. I've done diamonds as well. And what we're going to use for this method, if you don't like sewing, cutting lots of paper pieces and then sewing them, basting them, or you haven't got the glue pens, etc., then this might be the way for you. Tin foil. Okay, you may have seen there is a similar method used for doing applique as well. So what I'm going to do first is we need a template, and the template needs to be from card that is of a thickness that it's not going to bend every time you end up folding over onto it. So you want something like cereal packet that's going to be reasonable but not going to bend, as I say. So it needs to be thick enough but not too thick, because you want nice crisp corners. We're then going to cut our shapes, and they're going to be about 1/4 of an inch bigger. This one here, because I'm fussy cutting, I've actually drawn exactly where I want my template to go, so that my B is going to end up exactly where I want it. Okay, so the next thing that we need for this is just a good old can of spray starch. So I'm going to spray starch the fabric. These ones I've already starched. And then from your tin foil, I normally cut the same shape again, but I'm cutting about 1/2 inch, so a bit more than I've cut on my fabric. Okay, so I'm going to put my fabric inside my tin foil and then my cardboard shape, and then you can just start folding over onto here. If you want, you can use something like, this is just a lolly stick. I think you can probably tell which variety, and that's helpful to just smooth it over. So I'm using my nail there to hold it into the corner, and then just smoothing it over onto the cardboard so that I get nice sharp corners. If you use too much tin foil, you won't get the sharpness. Okay, so that's why I try and cut it just that little bit bigger. Once you've done that, just check on the other side that it's nice and sharp on the corners, and then we're going to press it. Don't hold it. I'm holding it because I'm on a slope. So, and then when you undo it, be wary, because it is tin foil, so it is going to be hot. I usually cut a couple of pieces of tin foil and a couple of templates so that I can have a bit of a system going, so they've got time to cool down in between. When you take it out, you can then remove your template and then press it one final time. The spray starch is going to help it to keep its shape really, really well, and it will be quite stiff, which also makes the sewing together a lot easier. One thing I will say about this method, a bit like a lot of these kinds of methods, you can't sort of store them for ages and ages unless you're really careful. Make sure if you're going to store them that you store them all like this, so that they're not getting jumbled around, because it won't hold its shape forever and ever, whereas if it's in paper it will, over papers it will. But once you've done all your shapes, you can then go ahead and either piece them together by, continue as normal by hand, or you can then spray baste in place onto your project and then use your sewing machine. And I would recommend one of the blanket stitches that goes side to side to actually sew them in place. And if you use a monofilament, one of the clear threads, then you'll find that you get a pretty good effect here for a sort of cheats version of the hand sewing, which if you're struggling with your hand sewing because of problems with arthritis or whatever, but you still like that effect, then this might be a way of achieving that effect, hopefully without the pain. But as I say, you can go on and do most shapes, and this one here I've done, and look, I've still got the dog ears in place for my diamonds as well. And at one point I'm going to try some of these as well. Okay, so apologies, I think there was drilling going on in the background because the neighbours always decide to do that as soon as I'm making a video, but I think it's just going to show you what you need to know, especially if you're doing the bee project that we were doing in Stitch Club for this month. So